Hi YouTube! So in the past I spent a lot of time talking about what to do during an interview, but I haven't really spent a lot of time talking about what to do before an interview or after an interview. Today I want to talk to you about what you should do after every interview. There's one main thing that you should do after every interview. So when I say every interview, that means your last interview, as well as your first and as well as your second interview. It doesn't matter whether the person that's interviewing you is the person who's actually going to hire you or whether it's somebody in HR. It doesn't matter if the interview is an in-person interview or a Skype interview or an on-the-phone interview. And when I say that you should always do this after every interview, I really mean just that. And so even if your interview went poorly, you should still definitely do this one thing. That one thing that you want to do is write a thank you note. And there are several reasons why you'd want to write a thank you note. Writing a thank you note isn't a requirement, and many people actually don't even write one, but it is considered polite and proper etiquette. It shows that you follow up, and it shows that this wasn't just another interview for you, it was actually a serious investment of your time. Because many people don't write thank you notes, it adds something unique to your profile, and it also shows that you appreciate that person's time as well. And if there's one thing that will get you anywhere, it's showing appreciation for the little things. It's the rule for personal relationships as well as professional relationships. When you write a thank you note, it also gives you the opportunity to clarify something you said that you feel you didn't really express accurately enough, and it also allows you to answer a question that maybe you blanked out on. So now, how do you send your thank you note? Most people say it's best to write a thank you note on an actual thank you card and leave it with the receptionist after your interview and before you leave the office. It's really more a matter of a personal preference. So in my case, I prefer to send my thank you notes via email for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons why I prefer sending thank you notes via email is because sometimes it can lead to an email conversation between you and the interviewer if they reply. Whereas in a thank you note format, you leave the thank you note and there really is no way for them to directly reply to you in response to that. Also, in most cases, if you are having a Skype interview or an on-the-phone interview, you can't really hand over a thank you card because you're not there in person. You could also mail it if you prefer to have an actual card, but just know that it is going to take time to get there and that time factors in when it comes to the hiring process. I think that actual thank you cards are really great. They show forethought and they just seem more thoughtful in general. It's an actual thank you card that you can hold in your hand. It's this tangible form of a thank you. So if you prefer to do that, then I think that that's fantastic. It's just for me, I prefer an email. But really, ultimately, it doesn't matter because what actually goes in the thank you note is the same. So just go by what you prefer. So now, how do you write it? How long should it be? What goes in it? And when should you send it? So first, if you're sending your thank you note via email, what you want to do is make sure that you get the email address of each of your interviewers. And you can ask your interviewer directly during the interview. I tend not to, but just go by how your interview, like the flow of your interview is going and judge it that way. If you don't feel comfortable asking in the interview, that's fine because you can reach out to the receptionist or you can reach out to your HR individual who's helping you out through the entire process and get your interviewer's email addresses that way. The next thing that you want to do is you want to take some time and reflect on the things that you talked about with each of your interviewers in each of your interviews that can add a more personal touch, because what you don't want to do is send them just a generic thank you email. That's better than not sending them anything, but what you really want to do is find something like a little nugget of something that you talked about in your interview that you can add to your thank you note that makes it more personal and shows that it's not a generic email, you actually put some thought into this. So maybe somehow, some way, during your conversation, you connected over a conversation on smartphones, or maybe you found out that you're both Mac lovers and you bonded over that, or maybe you both like the same band. Somehow something personal came out of that you feel comfortable putting in an email. To think about things like that. If you don't have anything personal that came out of your interview, or you want an alternate option, that's fine as well. Just think back to the different questions that you asked them during the interview and the answers that they gave you. If you haven't already done this, definitely check out my video, 4 reasons why you should ask questions in an interview. And I will either create an annotation, if I can, and or put a link at the bottom. So you want to think along those lines. So let's say you got a really good piece of advice on some topic during your interview. In your thank you note, you want to write, thank you so much for your advice or your guidance on X. It was really helpful. If, for example, you ask them to give you some suggestions on things to read to get you up to speed on the position or the technology, then put that in your email and list out the actual title of the book that they suggested and say, thank you so much for the suggestion. I am planning to read this, or I will read this book, or say, I'm adding this to my list, and then actually make plans to read the book. And then if you want to clarify an answer that you gave or modify an answer that you gave, you can go ahead and put that in there as well. Just limit it to 1 or 2 items if you have multiple that you want to clarify, because you don't want to seem flaky or you don't want to seem indecisive, and you don't want to bring out too much into the front that you answered all these questions and now you're changing your mind. So just keep it limited, but it is okay if you say in an interview you just can't answer a question, you say, I'm not sure right now, but I will get back to you on that. It is perfectly okay to follow up with that email and actually put out what your answer is now, because it shows that you said you're going to follow up and then you actually did. Just keep in mind that you should keep it limited. You also want to thank them for their time and tell them that you look forward to hearing back. You want to include your contact number after your signature at the end of every email that you send them, because you want them to be able to have easy access to your contact information anytime that they need it. I do this at the end of all of my professional emails as a habit, whether it's for an interview or for just a professional contact that I know from before that maybe I never worked with, but we just know each other on a professional level. It's just something that I always do and something that you might want to incorporate if you don't do it already. The thank you note should be 3 to 5 sentences on average and shouldn't take you more than 5 to 10 minutes to write per interviewer. Make sure not to bulk email your interviewers. So if you interview with 4 people in one day, don't send them all one email. Instead, you want to send each one an individual email. In terms of time frame, you want to send the thank you note out as soon as possible. So if you're sending it via email, you want to send it the moment you get to a computer. If you're sending it as a thank you note, you want to leave it with a receptionist before you leave the building. If you haven't written a thank you note before, this might seem really big and overwhelming. So I can create a template for you if you'd like, and leave a link to my website where I can post a template. So just let me know. And that's it. So if you're sending your thank you note via an email and the person responds with more than just a thank you or a good luck and wants to carry on an email conversation, then feel free, go ahead, just follow their flow and their lead. It's really quick and easy, and it adds something extra, and it keeps you in their minds instead of out of sight, out of mind. So thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Check out my book, 25 Things They Don't Teach in Business School. I'll leave the link down below. Take a look at my blog, www.consultingforrookies.com. I will also leave the link for that below. And I will be responding to comments over the next week. And until next time.